Time for a movie review with Rocco Passafume.
Thank you very much, Howie. The movie that I'm doing for you this week is actually a Netflix exclusive. It is known as Pee-wee's Big Holiday. It is directed by John Lee, and it stars Paul Reubens as the titular character, who lives in a pleasant but uneventful life in the picture-perfect town of Fairville. But when he meets actor Joe Manganiello, who comes to town, he becomes inspired to go on a road trip to New York to Manganiello's penthouse for his birthday celebration. As we all know, Pee-wee Herman is the popular character of Paul Reubens. Started out as an HBO stage show and became a very, very popular kids live-action show in the 80s. And in recent years, Paul Reubens has revived the character, first with a live show on Broadway and now with this film. The only thing, though, regarding this particular film is the fact that it will no doubt bring comparisons to his original movie, the beloved 1985 film Pee-wee's Big Adventure. It's similar to the fact that he goes on a road trip and he, his sort of very small town kind of, man-child persona has to deal with the world at large. And a lot of the time it's a very sweet movie, just like Big Adventure. There's a lot of interesting things that Pee-wee Herman gets himself involved in. But the major absence of this movie in comparison to Big Adventure is the fact that you don't have a director like Tim Burton doing this kind of movie. Tim Burton's first film was Big Adventure, and it really showcased how just unique of a director he really was for the time. And this film, unfortunately, is a bit absent of that tech. I mean, Paul Reubens does a fantastic job still as Pee-wee Herman, and he's 63 years old. He still manages to perform this kind of man-child character with every bit of energy as humanly possible. And it's definitely a great credit to his talent that he's able to still pull off this character after all these years. The only thing is that there's not a lot new that's brought to the whole Pee-wee Herman character as it seems. It's not quite as interesting. The situations that he gets himself into are not always as interesting as what you see in Big Adventure, or even when he had his TV series Playhouse. And I mean, it's occasionally funny. Some of it is really amusing, and it definitely shows that there are times where you really are wistful for the days of watching Pee-wee's Playhouse or watching Pee-wee's Big Adventure. But I mean, I'll give you this much. It's definitely a much better movie than his last film, Big Top Pee-wee, so it's definitely a big improvement in that. But I feel like Big Adventure cast a very long shadow over Big Holiday. And yes, it's pretty novel that this came out on Netflix rather than do the traditional theatrical means. And I feel like this is kind of best suited for that kind of atmosphere, in the sense that it's an environment where people who are fans and who really love this character will most appreciate it. I think that's really the bottom line in regards to Pee-wee's Big Holidays. If you're a fan, I think you will like this movie. I think you'll enjoy it. But I think for people who are maybe kind of searching for a bit more with this character that, full disclosure, I absolutely loved growing up as a kid, I think that it's not quite the most essential work of the Pee-wee Herman lexicon that Paul Reubens has created over the years. But I will give Pee-wee's Big Holiday, which is a fairly pleasant movie, I give it 3 out of 5 stars, and is only available to see on Netflix.
Okay, thank you, Rocco Passafume. Hey, we have Rocco Passafume, and Rocco loves when I put him on a segment. He has no clue, no idea what I'm going to talk about. But I'm going to put him on the spot. Guess what's coming very soon? Batman versus Superman. What I want to know from The Rock,
Yes.
Will Batman versus Superman live up to the hype?
Well, I will tell you this much, there's definitely a lot of hype for this. This is a very, very anticipated movie. It is the first official movie in the DC Extended Universe. There's going to be a whole slew of movies that will connect to Batman vs. Superman, including Justice League and all that. As far as whether this will live up to the hype, that will really depend on what kind of movie we're looking at here. There's been a lot of reports about the movie since its inception, about where it's going to go, what people really want to see, and it depends really on what people, will take from this movie. If people like it, then the movie will do extremely well. If the movie comes out and it has a kind of subpar response, it'll probably do very well opening weekend, but I mean, it will really depend on whether or not this movie's going to have legs beyond opening weekend. If this movie can do well consistently beyond the first weekend, then we will have a potentially huge hit on our hands. If not, then this will be something that might be, it won't be considered a failure per se, because there's probably going to be a good amount of hardcore fans of both Batman, Superman, and the other DC comic superheroes, but it'll be what the studios like to call a disappointment. So it all depends on how everything pans out. Warner Brothers and DC have a lot riding on this movie, so hopefully, you know, it's not like I always say, there's no guarantees, but let's see where this goes. This has a lot of potential. This, you know, it's good. You know, it's a good director, good cast, and you know, hopefully this will be something that people will love.